All right. So what can we do on the design part? So here we have the classes, and we need to put a text box really somewhere, like to call our endpoint, our AI API. We could put it on top, or we could put it on the side. I think like if we put it on the side and squeeze it a little bit and move it to the right, then the things will go a little bit better. So let's have a look. For the purpose of this, you see, I'm pretending to be like a new in the project. So I will prompt cursor agent to do it. I'll show you some basic techniques of how I do it. So first of all, I want to do load stuff into the context because this is a new thread and it's totally empty, right? I mean, sure, it has some, model, so and the agent and it knows the files, but what I want to do is I want to be able to like load something into the context. So I change to ask most likely so it doesn't try to change things, and then I tell it to maybe a role. So we are in Angular, so this agent will be Angular related because it's going to be building the app. So I say you are Angular expert. That is continuing the project, and your role is to add new features. Start by reading the files inside app src app folder to see what is happening and give me a summary. Cool. Technically speaking, I will review what he wrote, what he understands, but most likely you can just jump into the next task. So summary, sure, app. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. So yeah, it's calling the endpoint, correct, template, sure. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I could be saying, oh, build a feature to do this and whatnot. But I could also start small. And the bigger the task, the more decision model needs to make, and the more unhappy you can become. The smaller the task, the more control you have over the vibe coding situation. So I do both, depending how much I care about it. But I will maybe I try to showcase both. So now, if I want to make a big task, which is like cutting through all the layers, like doing the component part, the HTML, the CSS, the TypeScript. One way to go about it is to create a plan, even though it's super simple. But from my experience, if I need to cut through many files, then I would consider creating a plan. If it's isolated in one place and the file that needs to be edited is not very big, well, this is quite heavy and it's a good time to actually introduce a new component, but I don't want to do it. I want to keep going and then revise it later. So let's try with the planning part, right? So what I can do is I change the plan mode and I say new feature is to add a simple form with text area and a filter button. This part will be used to generate the prompt and call on my API with the results in order to build filters that will be used to filter the list of fitness classes. All right, in your plan, consider adding form template in. I mean, normally he does that and I can revise the plan, but to save on like time, I want to give him some pointers so he can actually do immediately. adding from form template inside app component HTML, add some state signal to react to form group. So of course I assume there will be some, I leave it open. Let's see how he does, if he understands. Actually, technically speaking, I don't need a signal for it. I could be using the form group, but having a state in a separate variable helps because everything is signal oriented. Yeah. Okay, so to form group, cool, and then finally add a new service that can be called for local Olama setup. I will need a model name, assume default local host port for Olama, and assume fixed temperature 0. All right, let's see what he can come up with. And from my experience, working with those plans and modifying them is slightly more difficult than actually generating it in zero shot, like from the get-go properly. But because I'm using auto, the cursor will use pretty good model for this. And you see, it can also ask me a question. What format should Olama response be? Should it return JSON object that directly maps to fitness class filter properties? Yes, JSON, yeah. So exactly, it has to be this. It has to return the structured output. Should the prompt sent to Olama include the fitness class schema interface? No, for now, no, because I don't want him to think too many things, and I want you to show you the performance degradation when we don't prompt properly, and some optimization techniques. And yeah, I don't know if it's my computer, but those tokens are going very slow. Very often it's like this, and I assume it's because I'm using some heavy model, which is normal thing. For planning, you usually use a slow model. I mean, sorry, not slow, like very advanced one. So this is why it's slow. But it could also be something with the planning tool in Cursor. Yeah, so it drew the diagram. So user enters query, form with text area, correct, form button. Yeah, I have to finish it, like I have to wait until it finishes the plan because the scrolling will be pushing me all the way up. But so far so good. Olama service generate filters. Yeah, we need to create a service for sure. Olama API localhost correct. JSON filters response. He didn't mention anything about structured data. I believe he will do it. So the thing is, like, the question is how detailed should the plan be? Of course, if you can get it to nail it 100%, then it's good because then like the model that will actually implement it, which doesn't have to be the same model, by the way, and very often it's not the same model that did the planning. Then the model will actually, perform a better job, right? Because it knows exactly what to do. But technically speaking, yeah, it has some trade-offs as well because you will spend a lot of time on revising, and very often, especially in those relatively simple features and very small greenfield project, I would say I very often let it do and then add the corrections afterwards, and it's quite efficient this way. But of course, you have to know. Ideally, in a greenfield project, that's easy to do. In legacy projects, you probably shouldn't do that. All right. So backend API, yeah, you see, he did a little bit too much because he already, I mean, I mentioned that in my prompt, but in my message, it's not really a prompt. The prompt is much bigger than this. But okay, I'll let it flow. So create Olama service, correct. He starts, you see how he does. It's actually pretty good. This is what I've been teaching for years. Start with the upper layer first. Start with responses, start with services, move towards the models inside your application because those things do not have any dependencies. So you actually safe to do things. Of course, it has the ripple effects on the rest of the application, but it's pretty decent to do this way. Yeah, I cannot wait until it finishes. First modified. Okay, to do's nice. I wish it to add it to do, but I can see it probably does it all in one go. All right. So we're gonna have a model, we're gonna have the prompt, correct, generate, correct. I want this endpoint. By the way, Llama there are two. One is ChatML endpoint and one is generate. ChatML is great for conversational. If I would be asking model back and forth, then using completion endpoint would be recommended. But I expect the user each time when presses the search or filter, the that's gonna create entire prompt, right? So it's just if I change something in my query and press filter, it's not like I'm correcting it. It's entire new query. Prompt stream false, correct. I don't need to streaming. Option correct. Parse response. Return observe. Technically, he should use Zod or some validation thing, but yeah, hopefully he will map to that. Update app component, correct. Reactive forms mod. Yeah, form builder. I'm not a fan of form builder, but sure. If he's feeling like it's sort of like when you work with other people, right? I mean, you might have your preference. Every requirement you do, you have to divide into different categories. Like I don't care category. Then you like I have my preference, but I'm fine either way. And then it's like, no, this is a hard requirement. Like we always do like this, right? So in this case, this is like my preference kind of way, right? I would not use the form builder, but yeah, it's preference. Add Olama service, sure. Query model, filter. It added more things like is loading and so on. All right, you know what? I mean, I could be reading all this, but show me the code. So do the build. All right, so it creates the Olama service. Nice. Okay, let me have a look. So yeah, I have some corrections, but we can move it later. All right. Then we have the Olama service, correct. I'll change the model for sure. The request, sure. Post response. It does a lot of things, way too many. This is definitely wrong, but I accept it. I'll keep in mind what he did. Instead of like correcting him now in this, I'm fine as long as it sort of works. And then I like this workflow, right? So as you see, first I load stuff in, do like a research stage, load data into the context, then do the plan, which obviously might have some deviation. Then I let it actually generate, and then I go to the review stage, like the correction. And I don't need to do it all in one big prompt and conversation and tell him very often telling him what to correct. I will have a list of things and I prefer to go one by one rather than telling him all little details. So I'll let him do all the stuff and then do the review. I think I can pause it and then yeah, do it later.